In this video, I'm going to be telling you about 15 of the accessories that I use with the Panasonic S1. Here's the story. If you want to find out more information about any of the accessories in this video or find out where you can purchase them, there'll be links in the description. Accessory number 1, a battery. These are pretty important. The battery that I use is the Panasonic DMW BLJ31. I find this battery gives me pretty good battery life, and I can get about 2.5 hours of continuous record time recording 4K straight to the Panasonic S1. There are other battery options out there, but I go with the Panasonic batteries because I know they're reliable and they give me a great battery life. Accessory number 2 is a battery grip. And the reason that I got a battery grip is because I wanted to extend that battery life even longer than the 2.5 hours that I could possibly get with a single charge with the regular Panasonic battery. Having to change batteries during a video shoot is something that I want to try to avoid, so having a battery grip really does help with extending your battery life. What I like about this battery grip is these two connection covers go together, and then you can clip them into the battery grip. This cuts down on the risk of losing these two pieces, and it's very easy for you to lose those two pieces. You could put them in your pocket, you could put them in a bag, and then they grow legs, and then they mysteriously disappear somewhere. Having them clipped together and inside the battery grip while you're operating is really good, really handy, and you're not going to misplace them anytime soon. Having the battery grip is also really handy for photography. If you're wanting to take portrait style photos, you're able to hold the camera like so, as opposed to having to hold it like this. Some people don't mind holding the camera like this, but for me personally, I like to be able to hold the camera like this. And even if you take vertical video, which is becoming more and more popular these days, having the battery grip for video like this, so you can record vertical video, is also really handy as well. And one thing that I've found with the battery grip is sometimes it can come loose with the Panasonic S1. I don't know if that's just my battery grip, if one of the pins has been bent or something like that. But whenever communication is lost between the battery grip and the Panasonic S1, and you have the Panasonic S1 set to battery grip for battery priority, it'll cut out and then restart the camera, turn back on. And this can be problematic because I shoot a lot of the time on C1, and whenever you turn the camera off and then on again, it'll then revert back to those settings. So if I've started shooting with C1 and then changed the shutter or the white balance or something along those lines, and then I lose power from the battery grip, the camera turns off, turns back on again, the settings reset, and then if I'm not paying attention, I could then start recording again when the camera turns back on and have different settings to what I was intending. So that's what I found with the battery grip. You just gotta make sure that it's tightened on, that it's not wiggling or anything like that to cause the camera to lose power. And then if you do lose power and you're recording a video clip, well, that video clip will be corrupted. You won't actually have it. So that's something to keep in mind with the battery grip. Make sure it's on tight, secure, and properly, and then you shouldn't have any problems. And if that's not enough battery life for you, then accessory number 3 is a battery brick as well. I've got the Anker battery brick, and this has a USB-C out, so I can also power and charge the Panasonic S1 as well to extend that battery life. Accessory number 4 is a cage. I went with the small rig cage because, as you can see, it's a little bit bigger than normal cages, and that's because it extends out so you can include the battery grip. And Small Rig is one of the only companies that I've seen that makes a cage like this. So that's why I went with Small Rig, and I actually got this cage on sale, and it ended up being just a little bit cheaper than getting the normal Small Rig cage. So that was a nice surprise. Now with this cage, there are 2 points to mount to the camera, down the bottom and on the side. And what I like about this cage as well is it includes this little tool as well. So you can screw in the bottom of the cage into your camera, and you don't need to have an extra tool on you for that mounting point. For the other mounting point, you do need another tool that is included with the cage, but I thought it was nice that Small Rig does include this little tool, which magnetically sticks to the bottom of the cage here, so you've always got it. You can also get NATO rail attachments to go onto the cage as well, and I find this handy to be able to mount my next accessory. Accessory number 5 is an external monitor, and I find external monitors are critical with video production, especially if you're filming outside. When you're filming outside, the sun could be shining and it can be quite difficult to see what your image actually looks like on the back of your Panasonic S1. Having an external monitor is really beneficial, and it really helps with being able to check what's in focus, what your exposure is like, And these external monitors these days have a lot of features that will help make your video production run so much smoother. I use the Atomos Shinobi SDI version, and I have the SDI version so it can pair with my Panasonic EVA 1 because the EVA 1 has SDI out. The Panasonic S1 only has HDMI out, but this monitor also has HDMI in, so that's a win-win. I can use this monitor between both camera systems. And a few of the features I like to use on the Shinobi are the waveform, false color, peaking, and also the magnification, so I can get that critical focus. And this monitor has a bunch more features, and if you're interested in a more comprehensive and deep dive into this monitor, there are plenty of videos on YouTube for you to watch to tell you what this monitor has to offer. This monitor also has 1000 nits of brightness, which is good for shooting outside. When you're getting an external monitor, if you know you're going to be filming outside, then anything higher than 800 nits is deemed daylight viewable. You might see some monitors claiming to have up to 3000 nits of brightness. I find that this isn't really necessary for my video production. 1000 nits is more than enough for what I'm shooting. And to attach the monitor to my small rig cage, I just use the NATO rail and also this little adapter as well, which is a tilt and swivel adapter, which is really handy. And to power the monitor, I use this FX Line Nano 1 V-mount battery. And I like how small this battery is, and it also has a USB-C out, which I can also plug straight into the Panasonic S1 to give it a little bit more battery charge as well. And to attach the battery to the back of the monitor, I've got this FX Line V-mount to NPF adapter as well. Accessory number 8 is the LUMIX S 24-105 f4 lens. Now this lens is the kit lens to the Panasonic S1, and for some people, when they hear a kit lens is included, they're not really interested in it because they're not necessarily the highest quality lens. But from my experience, this lens is very good. It covers a wide focal range of 24-105, and it's an f4 lens. And typically when I'm purchasing a zoom lens, I try to get a constant f2.8 aperture because I like to have that extra stop of light. However, I've found that with that focal length and also maximum f-stop of f4, I haven't really been limited that much with the Panasonic S1. If I don't have enough light, then I'll just bump the ISO up. Or if I'm in a controlled lighting environment, I'll just turn the lights up. So having that f4 isn't really a deal breaker for me. It also has o.i.s or optical image stabilization, and it's also a macro lens as well, so you can get some really nice close macro shots. So if you're looking to get the Panasonic S1 and you've only got enough money for one lens, this is definitely a lens you should check out. Accessory number 9 is the Sigma MC21 adapter. Now this adapter allows you to adapt EF lenses to the Panasonic S1's L mount. It gives you control of your aperture, focus, and also image stabilization as well. In regards to focus, it allows you to do manual focus, obviously, single autofocus, but not continuous autofocus. That is something important to note. Accessory number 10 is a variable ND, and I use the PolarPro 2 to 5 stops. Now these filters are not cheap, but they are high quality, and they have one feature that I really like, and that is hard stops. So you can start your ND at 2 stops and then turn it all the way to 5 stops, and then it won't go any further. And the benefit of having this is because a lot of other variable NDs will end up getting a really weird cross pattern in the image, which makes your image unusable. Having this variable ND with hard stops at both ends eliminates that X pattern. Accessory number 11 is combining the last 2 accessories together. So this is the Fotodiox ND Throttle Fusion adapter, and this allows you to adapt your EF lenses onto the Panasonic S1's L mount, and also includes a variable ND as well. This is really handy because it combines 2 accessories into one just to make things a little bit simpler, and the minimum ND that you can get with the Fotodiox adapter is 2 stops, and it goes all the way up to 8 stops. So that's a little bit more than the PolarPro filter that I was showing before. The adapter lets you control aperture, focus, and image stabilization. And much like the Sigma MC21, this adapter also does not have continuous autofocus on the Panasonic S1. Accessory number 12 is a travel tripod. I find this accessory really handy just to throw in the bag and just have there, because you never know when you might want to just capture a time lapse or even set up a stationary static shot with a small tripod like this. You can't always be carrying around a big, large tripod, So having this small travel tripod is something that can be very handy just to have in the bag. Accessory number 13 are SD cards. And there are a couple of types of SD cards that I use. I use these SanDisk cards and they work great with the Panasonic S1. With these SanDisk cards, I find that I can get about 90 megabytes a second when I'm transferring them to my computer to edit. But if I want a faster transfer speed, then I can use my Panasonic 128GB V90 card. And I can get typically around 250 megabytes a second transferring from the card straight into the computer. This is a real time saver, but these cards are not cheap. So that is something to keep in mind. Now, it's not critical that you use V90 cards with the Panasonic S1. These SanDisk cards work perfectly well and are reasonably priced and easily available as well. Now, the Panasonic S1 does have 2 card slots. One is for SD cards and the other is for XQD cards. And with a firmware update to the Panasonic S1, you can now use CFExpress Type B cards. And recently I've purchased the o.i.s Advanced 128GB CFExpress Type B card, and boy is it fast. I found that these cards are reasonably priced for the speed that you're getting. So if you want that extra speed, then a CFExpress Type B card might be something that you'd be interested in checking out. They are more expensive than typical SD cards that work with the Panasonic S1, but if you value having that faster transfer speed after a shoot so you can start editing quicker, this might be something that interests you. Also, if you're a photographer and you take lots of burst shots, you'll find that the images write to the card a lot faster, and if you need to review your images, then you won't need to wait for the Panasonic S1 to catch up with writing the files so you can preview your images. Your images will pretty much instantly be there. One thing to keep in mind, if you're using the dual record function with the S1 and recording to both the XQD card or CFExpress Type B card and the SD card, then the bottleneck of writing the images to your cards will be the slower card, which is the SD card. So having that really fast XQD card or CFExpress Type B card might not really be much of an advantage out in the field when you're wanting to review photos if you're recording to both cards at the same time. But it is handy to have that extra backup. And the final accessory is the CFExpress Type B reader. And this is obviously very helpful to get your photos and video off your CFExpress Type B card and onto your computer. When I'm transferring files from this card to my computer, I typically get transfer speeds of 480 megabytes per second, which to me is a lot faster than the 90 megabytes a second that I'm used to with the other SD cards. And that will do it for this video. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to this channel for more videos on content creation in the future.